Hi, welcome to the first official video of the We're Just Children podcast. My name is Mayali Khan.
My name is Janet Nadeem.
And my name is Shanze Ahmed. And we're making this podcast for our MYP3 IB community project, which is basically where we had to create something that could benefit the community in a way. And we decided to create this podcast.
Basically, this podcast aims to talk about many issues, such as the main going on issue, which is the Palestine and Israel conflict, which is truly heartbreaking considering what is happening in Gaza.
Now, before we move on to that, we just want to briefly explain that this podcast is for the sole reason that growing up, we had always been told that we're too young to have valid opinions and views, and this is going to be our way of telling the world and sharing our opinions on these different topics, which today, as Janet already explained, is the Palestine and Israel war or conflict. There are a few topics that we want to talk about, but the main ones are the effect the people have in Palestine and Israel, the boycott of Israel, their environment, and the condition they are in. And yeah, we're going to start off with the boycott.
All right, so basically, I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of the fact that many people are boycotting brands. Many, like, the brands are being boycotted. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of that. But I know many people who are pretty much like, wait, I'm pretty sure boycotting brands are like useless. Like, what can it actually do? It's because the brands that are being boycotted are all brands that support Israel. That means all the like money they basically gain, all the finance they gain is being donated towards Israeli occupations, which means Israeli armies, which can like literally cause more damage in Palestine. So it's literally the bare minimum, and it's really honestly the Palestine supporters who do not boycott. Like, of course, everyone has their own valid opinions, but as Maria mentioned, that this podcast is basically to give more information, open more eyes, and basically give reasoning on why supporting Palestine is important. So boycotting brands can really help, as the finances will be gone down and money won't be donated to Israeli occupations.
So, as Jonathan explained, there's a lot of people who believe that boycotting doesn't do anything, but it is really the bare minimum that people can do since a lot of us don't have access to be able to donate or do immediate military or real length action in Gaza. So, Shanta's going to tell us some of the main brands that are supporting Israel and why we're boycotting. There are over 1,000 brands who support Israel, and it's been affecting a lot of people's lives, as in Coca Cola, Pepsi, L'Oreal, McDonald's, BMW, and KFC. There's just a lot, and it's really heartbreaking to see this many people supporting Israel, though we are trying our best to boycott these.
Now, as all of the where these brands are something some of us like we always use, and a lot of you must be thinking like, oh, I feel super bad for the people in Palestine, but I don't want to give up my lifestyle. I am so sorry, but it is basically the bare minimum considering what the people in Gaza have to go through.
The things are happening in Palestine. Due to some Google research, this year the occupied Palestinian territory is on this highest rate ever position on the watch list, as a devastating violence is causing a humanitarian emergency that will persist long after fighting eventually stops. Gaza enters 2024 as the deadliest place for civilians in the world. Now, I bet at one point you've come across one of these videos online that are like, oh, if kids had one wish, what would it be? Now, a lot of these kids, it's like money. They would want to be rich. They would want cars, whatever, unicorns, what most kids want. But if you see and ask what kids in Gaza would want, they say bread because they don't even have that necessity. And as we're entering Ramadan as Muslims, and the main religion followed in Gaza is Muslims, the Israeli occupation is causing them to not have food at all, pretty much. They are rampaging the stores and ruining the products inside of the stores for the sole purpose that they will not be able to fast and will not be able to have nutrients or nutritious sari or iftar. Is living occupations bring direct risk to health and life for the 4.8 million residents of the OTP, aka living in Palestine, including violent attacks from illegal Israel settlers, death and injuries at protests, and frequently destructions of homes and infrastructure, causing them to lose their lives. Now, I came across a tweet that was sent to me by a friend, and this tweet basically said that around, I think, in December of 2023, the Gaza school board had to shut down schools completely because all of, or mainly all of the children who would be attending these schools were brutally murdered in Israeli attacks.
Yeah, so basically, this goes on to prove the fact that, it is truly heartbreaking considering that we have, most of us, thankfully, alhamdulillah, have the opportunity to, like, basically have the opportunity to have proper education, and sometimes most of us even take that for granted. C- Now you see, education studies, they all like, every normal teenager considers the fact that education studies, it's a very boring part of life. But as Maria mentioned, when it comes to a developed, like a normal kid's wishes, like we wish for such great things, like, oh, I want to be rich, I want to have money, I want to have unicorns, the advanced things that we all like wished for as kids and still do as teenagers. They wish for such simple things that we, alhamdulillah, have, like, literally in our daily life, literally, like bread and the opportunity for education, which we this goes to show that we should not even take that for granted at all, considering not many people even have that.
I personally know somebody who created products that whatever money they were earned, they were sold, and whatever money was earned from them was donated. I think it ended up to be at least or around 80,000 Pakistani rupees, which is really great. And so there is a website I've also come across where you can just push a button once every 24 hours and it donates to Gaza. So if you really want to help, you can look into these and find different ways to help. Due to some research, is Palestine safe as for today? Due to security situations, we continue to advise reconsideration your needs to travel to Israel and the occupation of Palestinian territories due to overall violent and social securities being linked. This includes threats and terrorism, armed conflicts and civil unrest, rockets that have been fired at Israel from Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria. And this really helped with destroying people's lives. And this really, set boundaries now. And that's really affecting Palestine life. So some of you may have just caught that Shanza said rockets from Gaza to Israel, which is true. This is all true. So basically, a lot of people think that it started on October 7th of 2023 when Gaza or Palestine had launched a siege on Israel. But the real truth is this has been going on. This has been an ongoing issue since 1948. And finally, after a while, I'm not sure I can't do the math right now of how many years, but it's been a long amount of time. They're finally fighting back, and they had to make these weapons to be able to fight back because they were denied everything. Now, a lot of people have called it Gaza Strip because it's only like a strip of area. It's barely anything, and this is their only home, and it's being destroyed.
You see, this goes to show that, um, as many as look, it's very understandable that people have different opinions. This is not trying to, criticize many people for having different opinions, but it's the fact that, when you are aware of the things that are going on, that are going around, and you know what the children in Gaza are going through, there is no reason, like, why there's no reason to stop you from doing the bare minimum of, or anything you can to do to help. For example, like boycotting or even spreading awareness about this issue, like we are doing through this podcast. Now, many Israeli supporters must be listening to this podcast, and this means no criticism. We are just it's better to have more, to be more, basically, to be more aware of the information that is going around. Yes.
So something that a lot of people don't understand is the history, and a lot of people just consider, oh, Israel's history or um, Palestine's Israel history. But the thing is, if you open up, we don't have this website open right now, but I really do suggest going on to Index Mundi and looking at the country comparisons and comparing Gaza Strip and Israel, and you will really see the thing. And a lot of people are saying that it was Israel's territory because Palestine welcomed them in when nobody else would. Okay, and wait till you find out that even the Israel flag was stolen from the Ottoman Empire. Due to the Palestine-Israel war, there's many effects on the children there. There's also boycott of Israel, the environment, and the condition they're in. The condition they're in is that Israel escalated its crackdown on Palestinians' freedom of association. It also imposed on restrictions on freedom and of movement and closed that amount of to collective punishments, mainly in the northwestern bank side. In response to armed attacks by Palestinians on Israel soldiers and settlers, which is basically how Israel people are bombing Palestine and how they're losing their lives and risking their whole life just to be safe. And as you can like see by the news, you can see as mothers are trying to protect their child as they're crying and shedding a tear, and it's really like sad to see them crying and being in this condition because you wouldn't understand what the pain they're going through.
Yes, and this is a really big topic, and a lot of people don't understand that the severity of this topic. And so, this is just a bit more on what this topic is about, just a brief descriptor of the history now. Although little of it is remembered today, the territory's 4,000-year history makes clear that the last 16 years were an anomaly. The Gaza Strip has almost always played a pivotal part in the region's political dynamics, as well as its old age struggles over region and military power. This was recorded on the 1st of January 2024, and so far has been proved to be the same today.
Genocide mortality refers for direct deaths resulting from acts of genocide, including killing, mass executions, forced labor, starvation, and diseases. Countering this requires stopping violence, providing aid, protection, and justice to survivors, and requires international cooperation, political will, and upholding human rights.
Now, we do understand that a lot of this might be a bit wordy and a bit hard to understand since our podcast is meant for everyone. We're going to try to simplify it a bit, just in a way that I've helped other people understand the topic as well. So basically, imagine somebody is knocking on your door asking you, can you please give me a place to stay for a few days? And you're being nice. You're letting them in with open arms, and you're being very welcoming. But one day, they just lock you in a room and claim that the house is theirs to everybody. Now, after years, which in this case, since 1948, you have been trying to just stay in this room. But one day you've had enough. And so you break the door down and you exit. And everybody is saying that it's your fault for ruining the house and taking over their territory when it was really yours first, and nobody's understanding. This is the story of Palestine and Israel.
Now, as Maria just explained, Palestine's home was literally taken away from them just for their nice gesture. Like people who support Israel all around the world are believing that it was Israel's home to begin with, but that is not true at all. From our opinion, actually no, from the factual based information, it was Palestine's home to begin with, and Israel just took it over and basically just claimed it as theirs. And literally now they are killing people and ruining people's lives.
So, there was, according to the web, genocide was actually banned in 1946. Genocide was first recognized as a crime under international law in 1946 by the United Nations General Assembly. It was codified as an independent crime in 1948 Conventions of the Prevention of Punishment of the Crime of Genocide.
Basically, how this all started in 1948, while Palestine was under British Mandate rule, the United Nations General Assembly agreed on a plan to partition it into Arab and Jewish states for international rule over Jerusalem. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, giving them 56% of the land, and the Arab League rejected the proposal. Israel's founding father, David Ben-Gurion, proclaimed that the modern state of Israel on May 14, 1948, a day before the scheduled end of British rule, establishing a safe haven for Jews fleeing persecution and seeking a national home on land.
The genocide is basically the deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying the nation or group. This clearly gives you a brief explanation on what's going on with Israel and Palestine and what exactly Israel is doing to to Palestine, as it basically has the aim of destroying a nation or a group, which is Israel destroying Palestine and literally taking away all the Palestinians' lives.
As Jana just explained, there are many effects in the society due to genocide. In many cases, genocide can affect people, but genocide can also affect children. Some children of survivors experience violence in their homes, such as physical abuse or neglection. Children in the following generations who have been raised in violent homes because of their parents' experience with often elected violent behaviors, meaning that they've been traumatized due to the wars and have a hard time adjusting to this.
Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that in Gaza, these kids that have been born, let's say, a lot of people say this started on October 7th, which did not, but a lot of people think it started then. Let's say a kid was born on October 1st. Their whole life pretty much has been war, and they might have even lost their life at so young just because they were not able to be safe from the war. If you've seen a video, happened to come across a video once of a girl named Maryam who was basically visiting Gaza, visiting her family members, and she was from the UK. So she was visiting them in Gaza, and that is when the genocide started. She's now stuck there and she doesn't know what to do. And another story I saw, which was about a Palestinian father, and he dropped off his son at a hospital because the doctor had told him there was a slight chance his son would be able to survive after the bombing. When he came back, his son wasn't there, neither was the doctor or the hospital.
See, these stories really give you the real perspective and of why everyone and most people support Palestine, because none of us could even come close to imagining the pain they go through. Even us showing support for them is really obviously it's really supportive and it's a really good thing, but then again, it's not like it's the least we can do. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say, that they're going through so much and we can't even imagine half of that. We can't even imagine a quarter of what they're doing because they're losing their lives, and seeing dead bodies on the street is as common as seeing a stray dog walk past by for them, which just gives you an insight on how common that really is, because they just see dead bodies everywhere, which is honestly traumatizing, but unfortunately they're literally used to it, which is even more heartbreaking.
Now, someone who we really want to applaud in this case is a man named Motaz Azaiza. Shanta's going to tell you a bit about what he's doing.
He is known for helping these Palestinians through this war by giving them food, shelter, etc., and also bringing an insight to Palestine. He helps them through the darkest times. One of his posts on Instagram released a girl named Hannah. Hannah was a 6-year-old girl who came to visit Gaza just to see her families. Then, when she was returning back, her family members and her cousins were shot dead in the car, and she was all alone as a 6-year-old in that car crying with blood all over her.
She was a child. She was around 6 years old, and she was in a car with her whole family. They were trying to pass through the area. And while they were trying to pass through, her family was shot dead. The only two people left were her and her cousin. And her cousin left trying to go get help because obviously they're stuck in a car, but she was shot dead. And think about it, for around, I'm pretty sure, 12 hours, Hannah was trapped inside a car with her dead family members. That's honestly traumatizing for someone of her age, and it wasn't long before she was shot dead too. And this is the heartbreak and the trauma that the people in Gaza are going through.
There are many stories to be told. These are just a few of them, and as jaw dropping and heartbreaking they might be, there's like at least a million of them, because not none of the citizens are safe. None of them, no matter what kind of faith they have, none of them are safe just because of the Israeli army. It's like honestly heartbreaking, because personally, as a person, you would never really think of yourself going through that situation, but we can't even imagine it, because what they're going through is just way too much, and it's completely heartbreaking, and it's absolutely traumatizing and violent.
There are some mental health effects of genocide as well. The impact on survivors' mental health may include some stress disorder, depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. This really puts trauma in these poor children, these poor adults, even because these adults are seeing their children die and having to see their like children covered in blood, and it's just heartbreaking to see these mothers cry on the internet. You can see by the videos by these mothers trying their best to protect their children, but they can't do it because wherever they go they see bombing, and it's really heartbreaking.
The number of children reported killed in Gaza over 4 months is higher than the number of children killed in 4 years of wars around the world combined. This was recorded by the UN Refugee Agency for Palestine. Silence kills. Every person speaking up for Palestine matters. Every single one is a thing that has been trending around the internet constantly, because people want to encourage others to speak up about the matter, especially people with power. people like celebrities who have a large platform which can help a lot of people. There have been 8,900 plus Palestinian women killed. And some people may not know this, but the women in Gaza sleep with their abayas and their hijabs on so that they're covered in case they're shot dead. And people like write tags on themselves so that when they are found, if they're dead, people can identify who they are because of the rubble and stuff. It's really hard to be identified. And no, it doesn't seem like it, but there's a lot people can do to help.
So supporting the Palestinians is a bare minimum, as we cannot even imagine what they go through. But one of the things that we have mentioned that we could do possibly do to help is boycotting brands and celebrities that support Israel.
Try to comprehend the devastation of digging rubble with your own hands just to find each member of your family killed. You can. But this is what people in Gaza have to do daily. This is their practice. Now, we all have our daily routines. For us, it might be getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, getting changed, and go to school. But for them, it's waking up, praying that they're still alive, and going to go find out and see who died. People deserve a Ramadan with no bombs, no tanks, no tears, families of love, feasts of food, and freedom. And this is what we need to strive to have them achieve. So do what we can and support and help the people in Palestine. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram.
Thank you for listening, and please take everything we said into consideration.
Now, as we mentioned at the start of this podcast, this is for our MYP3 community project. A lot of other people who are also participating in the community projects are doing something which can benefit Gaza. So we'll try to leave links and other sources of other people, not just from our school who are doing community project, but just in general on who can help Palestine and Gaza.
Links would be down in the description below.
Thank you so much again for watching, and remember, what we're doing is just spreading awareness. There's other ways to help. Thank you.
Bye!